My in-laws might be the most vile people that I've ever come across. They made me starve on the streets to the point where I almost died. My family could not help me because they were poor, so they could not save me from these evil people. I'll let you know how I escaped this torture, and let me just tell you, this is an absolutely wild ride, and this is one of my favorite stories I've ever read. Let's get right to it. I was left to starve in the streets for 3 days by my in-laws. I was on the streets eating from dumpsters and running away from people who wanted to take advantage of me, all because of my in-laws. I prayed for some help because I believed I was going to die there. They did not even give me money to go back to my parents' village. They hated me. But in the beginning, they treated me well. But because of this thing called dowry, I was being treated like I did not deserve to live. I'm a female 31, and for the past 5 years, I've been living in Qatar, but I was born in Bangladesh. I came from a poor but loving household. My siblings and I got educated as much as my dad could afford, but I never went to university. I knew that my marriage was going to be arranged as it was part of our culture, so I was ready. At the age of 26, I was able to get married. This is very late for females in my country, but my father did not have a lot of money for a dowry. My dad wanted me to marry well. Not that I did not have marriage proposals. Those were mostly from older men or men who were criminals, because they did not ask for a lot of dowry. My father loved me too much to make me marry someone like that. I was his only daughter. So he and my brothers worked hard so that I would have a good dowry. Then, when I was 25, a relative of the family had a friend who was looking for a daughter-in-law. There were quick meetings and I got to meet my future husband as well. The family was a bit above our class, but they did not charge my dad too much for the dowry. My father told me, but I did not know that they asked for more than they could give. I got engaged and was married before I was 26. In the start, my in-laws were very nice to me. I stayed with my husband, his 2 brothers, their wives, and an aunt who never got married. I was treated nicely, and I started to help my mother and 2 sister-in-laws with the house. But then, my mother-in-law started acting funny, complaining about the food I cooked and anything I did. My husband did not see any of this because he was always at work. He was not a bad man, but I did not know anything about him. I think 2 months after I got married, we had our ceremony. I was surprised to see that my mother and sister-in-laws had a beautiful jewelry, but I never got anything. My mother-in-law, who was being meaner to me every day, said that my parents did not pay enough dowry for me to be allowed to wear the family crystals. I ran to my husband to tell him what his mother said, but he shouted at me and told me never to complain about his mother ever again. I called my mom to tell her about how bad I've been treated. She told me that they were a good family and I had to try and just endure it, while she and Dad tried to get the rest of the money. I was surprised because, well, I thought they already paid my in-laws the dowry. My mother told me that they started demanding more dowry on my wedding day and wanted to leave it for my parents, and they did not pay. My parents did not want to bring any shame to me, so they agreed and gave them more money and promised them more. I asked how much they wanted, and my mom told me it was 5 times the money they gave in the beginning. I was very sad that my parents had to sacrifice that so I would not suffer the laughter that I would obviously get if my husband left me on my wedding day. I've only gotten married because my parents did so much for me, and it would bring honor to the family, but my dream was to study and work with my father. There was nothing I could do now, and I felt bad that my parents were in such money trouble all because of me. The whole family, even my husband, started to change as time passed. I started being treated like one of their servants. I was forced to wake up early in the morning and clean the whole house, when everyone else was asleep by my mother-in-law because she said it was so I could pay for her living there. I did not have any money for basic female hygiene because my husband did not want to give me a dime. So I had to beg and borrow from my mother-in-law and sister-in-law. They would call me names every day and not allow me to go outside or with them anywhere. I cried every night and told my mother what was happening. My mom told me to try and hang on because they were doing anything they could to assist me. But months went by and my husband started beating me. If I did something simple like not putting enough sugar in his tea, he would slap me. Everyone in the family started to do what they wanted to do with me. They beat me when they wanted and expected me to be a maid. My phone was taken away because I kept on telling my parents what's happening. One night, my husband came home late, which he never did before. In our family, I had to make sure that everyone ate no matter how late they came home. But I got tired and went to bed, only to be awoken by a beating from him. I ran to my mother-in-law, who refused to open the door and told me not to wake her up. After beating me up, he kicked me out of the room and had to sleep in the living room on the sofa. My mother-in-law spent the rest of the day slapping or beating me, even though my body was so sore. When I was too slow, she did it more. She called me the most useless daughter-in-law for upsetting her son. She said that she was getting impatient because my parents promised her a dowry many months ago, but there's still nothing. She said something mean about my parents, which made me lose my temper. I loved my parents and did not want to hear anything bad about them from anyone. I shouted back at her. I shouted back at her for the first time ever. She beat me with one of those wooden spoons we use for cooking. She said that I was not allowed to eat for the rest of the day. Even though I did beg her, she did not let me eat. The next few weeks got worse, and they started beating me nearly every day because of the dowry. I was their slave who did not sleep, eat properly, or get treated like I was even a human. When visitors asked, they said I was a servant and my husband's wife was not at home. They whipped me nearly every day, and I was always tending to my wounds. I was always crying, and my body was sore. They did not care and called me a big burden on their family name. One of the terrible incidents was when my sister-in-law accused me of stealing her jewelry. I've never stolen once in my life, but her husband was so angry with me that he allowed her to cut off my hair. They found the jewelry just hours later, but I didn't even get an apology, and everyone laughed because my sister-in-law was so dramatic. The younger one was not cruel to me when we were alone. She told me that the family demanded crazy dowries from their families too. The dowries have kept the family wealthy. She was not her husband's first wife. The first one had been kicked out because her parents could not keep up the dowry payments. I asked her if she thought there was a way we could report them to the police, but she said that they were dangerous people. Her parents did not want to take her back, and she was treated well because they paid a huge amount. Things only got worse though, and the beatings were starting to be a regular thing. Even if I dropped a little spoon, someone would kick and slap me. I was called a servant in the house because my parents only paid a small amount to them. One day, I asked to go visit my parents because they never allowed me to see them. My husband asked who would pay for the transportation because my parents lived very far away. I begged and said I would never ask for anything again. I just miss my parents, and he told me the whole family would I've asked, and my father-in-law got so angry, asking what right I thought I had to make such demands. My mother-in-law beat me for that, but my father-in-law said that it was enough and they could not stay with me anymore. So then, in the middle of the night, they kicked me into the streets. Only a few clothes, no money, no food. They told me never to come back to their house ever again or they would kill me. They were tired of waiting for my parents, and that night, I tried to ask the neighbors for help with a place to stay, but no one wanted to get involved in another family's business. I ended up sleeping inside of a bus shelter, which was freezing cold. I thought I was going to die. I went back to the house to beg for a place to stay, and my father-in-law took out his gun, aimed it right at me, and told me to leave before he pulls the trigger. I was so scared, and I ran. I got so angry and hungry that I started digging in the bins for some food. I did not even have money to get on a bus and go back home. For 3 days, I was begging on the streets, sleeping in dirty places, and crying and praying to anyone listening for anyone just please help me. On the 3rd day, when I've lost all hope, a woman who was much older than me and her husband came up to me. They gave me bread. They asked how a young woman like me ended up here. I told them everything that happened, and they offered to help get me home. They took me to their house and let me take a bath, gave me food. I told them everything about me and what my in-laws have done to me. They said that they would drive me to my village in the morning and gave me a room to sleep. I could not sleep a wink and ended up going out of my room to walk around the house. In the living room, I heard the husband talking to someone on the phone, telling him that he got someone they could buy. A young girl who was stuck in the city after her in-laws kicked her out. I was so scared when I found out the couple did not want to help me. They wanted to sell me. I went back to my room and started thinking of a plan. The next morning, they acted normal like they were really going to help. When they were not looking, I stole some money from him, and we started to travel. We did not go far before I pretended to be very sick. I started screaming and complaining of cramps. He stopped the car to let me go to the bathroom at this small little takeaway place. I got in and went to the bathroom to change my hijab. Then I walked out. I wore the one that left my eyes visible and hid on the group of other women who were wearing just like me. When I got away, I asked them for directions to the bus station. I explained to them that I was trying to get home, but someone was following me. They were nice enough to take me to the bus station and make sure that I got on safely. I was so lucky, and I prayed a lot on the way there so nothing would go wrong for me. I got home to my parents' house the next day. They were shocked to see me and were saying that my in-laws called me to demand more money, and told my parents that I ran away with another man. My father did not think I would ever do that and looked for me all those days. I told my parents everything that happened in that house, and they were very angry and shocked. My father literally immediately decided that I was going to get a divorce. The divorce came with its own drama that lasted for months, but in the end, I was divorced and free from that terrible man. Dowry was only illegal the following year. Otherwise, we could have only gotten them arrested for demanding dowry from us. After the divorce, I lived with my parents. They used the money they had been saving to allow me to go to college, as I wanted to do for so many years. I was always very bright in school, and reading books in English and continuing to educate myself after I finished basic schooling. I got into a small business and accounting course, which was about a year. After that, I started working for a very successful business, and my boss was from Qatar. I met my future husband at work, who was a friend of my boss's. He was just starting his own business and needed some help, which was where my boss tasked me to help him. He was a nice man and very respectful, but I was shy as well. Soon, we became good friends, but he surprised me when he told me he loved me. I told him I was married in the past and I wanted to work, and marriage would not be allowed. But he said that if I married him, I would be allowed to work. I was already in love with him by then, so we asked for my father's blessing. Some relatives were not too supportive because he was from another country, but my father shut them the heck up. My family supported me, and I was able to get married without paying any dowry this time. Even though my ex-in-laws tried to stop it, they claimed that I would always be their daughter-in-law until my parents paid for the full dowry. They say they owed them. They were kicked out of the wedding by my now husband's family, who are very wealthy and have influence even in Bangladesh. We got married in a short time, and a few months later we went to Qatar, where his business was based. This time I had decent in-laws who were very modern in their thinking, and they respected me. I'll always be a traditional Muslim woman, so the most important thing in my life is family. I help out mostly at home, even though my mother-in-law does not bother me at all. I've also continued to do courses to improve my skills, and I also help my husband run his business. He's a very kind and respectful man and has shown me love when I thought I would never get it. It's now 5 years since my first marriage. I have a 1-year-old son with my husband, and I've recently gone back to work. I keep in contact with my parents and visit them once a year, and they keep me updated on everything going on there. My ex-in-laws got in trouble with the law because of dowry. They tried to make their youngest, unmarried son's new wife pay them a crazy amount in dowry. She reported them to the police, and because of the law that makes dowry now illegal that was finalized in 2018, they got arrested. I hope they learned their lesson. It's very rare where a story like this has a happy ending, but in fact, this one did end happy, and I'm so glad OP can live a happy life with a husband who cares for her and allows her to go to school and business and do what she wants to do. She's no longer a slave or a victim or anything negative. She's her own person, and I think that's pretty cool. I have one more story for you guys today, and it's a sticky situation involving family and in-laws. And let me just say, this one is a wild ride as well. If you're new to the channel, subscribe as I do daily videos of some of the most dramatic-worthy soap opera potential stories you've ever heard. Okay guys, let's get right into story number 2. I, 26 female, have been with my fiance Chris, who's also 26, for 4 years now. He and his sister, 21, Lilik, are very close. They had a pretty traumatic childhood and always promised to be each other no matter what. Lilik is a good sister to him, but as a person, truthfully, I can't stand her. She's literally the textbook definition of a bubbly blonde. Overly charismatic, always giggling, and in general, just acts too immature for my taste. She likes to pull pranks every once in a while on my fiancé, and he gets her back, but the whole ordeal just seems childish and obnoxious to me. Ever since we got engaged, I knew I did not want her in my wedding party, because that means I'd have to be spending time with her at my bachelorette and other parties. Fast forward to last night. My fiancé asked me when I plan on asking Lilik to be a bridesmaid. I got quiet and truthfully said I didn't plan to do so. This upset him because he said he wants his sister to be part of the most important day of his life, and that if I did not do it, he wasn't going to make her a groomswoman, to make sure she's included. I can't lie, this set me off. I went off about how I want to feel respected by him and be able to enjoy my wedding day. He said he also wants to enjoy his day, which, to be fair, I understand. This is where I may be the a-hole. I told him I've always disliked his sister and wished he would just not include her for this one day that isn't even about her. He got quiet, went into our guest room to be alone. A couple moments later, I got a text from Lilik that she completely respects my decision to not want her in the wedding party, but she's hurt to know what I actually feel about her. I did not want her to find out at all, and now he's told his whole family about our argument. Half of them are attacking me, and half of them are saying it's my day, so I should be able to enjoy it. Honestly, this whole ordeal is stressful for no reason, because Lilik isn't even upset, and I don't want her in my wedding party, yet the whole family is upset. And my fiance has been very short with me all day. So guys, am I the a-hole? A quick edit before an update. Just because I hate her personality doesn't mean I'm mean to her. Being around her drains my social battery, but I've never been mean to her, nor did I want her to find this out. Especially in this way. I'm just super introverted and our personalities collide. I don't want her at my bachelorette party because I want to enjoy it fully and not feel anxious the whole time because the personification of a human firecracker is attending. Okay, here's the update. I'm probably going to make this my only update for a while, if not forever. We talked this morning, and sorry for not posting it earlier, my Wi-Fi company's been having some issues. We still are not resolved. He doesn't just want her as a groomswoman, but wants to ask her to be a best woman. Best man, but as a woman instead. This is still not resolved because I'm not comfortable with that, and it's more stressful because the whole family has turned into flying monkeys. Because his sister is the apple of their eye, so they took what I said seriously and attacked against her. Final update. So, it's been a week, and I feel like it might be okay to update now. Just not to waste anyone's time, yes, me and Chris are no longer together. After our initial fight, he decided to stay with his sister, and through that, Lilik ended up reaching out to me and apologizing for ruining our relationship, / her family hounding me for what I said. She invited me out for brunch the following day so we could talk things over, and it went swell. The conversation was very long, so I just want to include the important points. I apologized to her for taking out my feelings on her, because he's the one who allows her to disrespect our relationship. And she apologized for not coming directly to me to make sure I wasn't uncomfortable about anything she was doing. I also said that while what I said was true, it was harsh and I never wanted her to know how I felt. She told me I had nothing to apologize for and that she wasn't expecting me to like her, just to be kind to her. She also told me that if the wedding did continue, she would stay out of both bride-groom sides out of respect for my wishes. Now on to that. Yes, as I said in the beginning, Chris and I are no longer a couple. He stayed with Lilik for most of the week and invited me out for dinner the other night. During dinner, I offered the prospect of postponing the wedding and seeking couples counseling. Firstly, he apologized for running off to his family during our argument. He denied couples counseling and said that while he will continue therapy to fix his trauma bond with his sister, it was not something he wanted to do with me. He said that even if he does completely heal himself, that he wants someone in his life who loves his family, specifically his sister as much as he does. He said he truly loves me, but that we're not the best match for each other. He told me I was more than welcome to keep the ring, and because our current home's under his name, he told me that he would give me 2 months to move out, and would be happy to extend it if I was having a hard time. Well, this obviously hurt a lot, so I've spent a lot of time trying to heal and find an apartment. So yeah, guys, there's your update. So before the update occurred, I was reading the comments and it was saying how they think that it's very important for both sides of the family to get along, especially when her potential husband was so close to his sister. This was doomed from the start, and I guess that most people commenting were absolutely correct, as they're no longer together. Let me know what you think of this story, or how you thought it was going to end, or let me know what you think of the outcome. I hope you enjoyed today's stories. It was one of my favorite few stories I've read this week. So guys, drop your comments down below what you want to hear, and as always, Mr. Reddito will see you tomorrow.